Well, Emmanuel Macron will become France's youngest president without ever holding a political office. Now, he won Sunday's election, handing far-right candidate Marie LePen a resounding defeat. With more on this, joined now by the panel, Lisa Kinsella, managing partner with Daisy Group PR, and AM 640 Toronto radio host Tasha Curidan. Nice to see you both. And yes, let's start with Macron's win. Tasha, do you think that this stops the so-called wave of populism in its tracks?
Well, it'll stop it for now. I think what you've seen there is that the National Front did double its vote, but certainly the overwhelming sentiment was against that, was pro-Europe. It was also pro-reforms, and that's what's interesting because Macron's economic policies are very different than the more protectionist and free spending, you would say socialist-leaning, really, policies that the National Front and Le Pen would have brought in. So I think it's stopping populism, but it may also be stopping, at least for a time, rolling back free trade.
Okay, when we looked at Le Pen did the best that her party has ever done in the election, and the fact that a lot of it came from the younger demographic, younger voters, Lisa, is the death of populism perhaps a little premature?
Well, I never want to be the one to say that, it's over, because it ain't over till it's over. And at this point, having brought in Macron now, we have kind of like, this was a race between Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump. And fortunately, Donald Trump, in this case, lost. And I worked for Hillary Clinton. I campaigned for her in 3 states, and we worked as hard as we could, and that was a really strong campaign. But you did have this wave of populism, but I do think at the very least, if this hasn't stopped it in the tracks, it's definitely put a wrench in the spokes for now.
Okay, I want to ask you also about the email hack that happened late Friday, and I think the interesting wrinkle in this, unlike in the U.S., this came during a moratorium on campaigning, and it also came when the press couldn't report on it as well. There was threats of penalties if they did so. How do you think that, if at all, influenced the election?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, it happened so soon before the vote, and it is interesting. It obviously was well timed to do that. I think that because people saw that, they probably, I think the reaction could have been one of two. It's either people would discount it, or people would, pay people who were Le Pen supporter. You'd probably read a lot into it and say, this is exactly confirming what we thought. So I don't know if it really influenced the results that much, but it's a very disturbing trend.
Yeah, is it a freedom of the press issue as well, though? Because all that information goes out online, yet the reporters can't report on it, maybe put it into context. Macron himself, he can't comment on it because of the moratorium. Yeah,
well, this is the other thing, is that the media is in a very difficult situation because you do see this information. You are, as a journalist, you feel obligated to comment and report. In this case, though, there was that blackout, if you will, and what that does is it puts them in a very, very difficult position to fulfill their duties as press journalists.
Okay, I want to move on to Stephen Colbert. He is being investigated by the FCC for a monologue on his show last week. Do you think, Lisa, in your opinion, did he cross the line here?
Well, I'm too old to stay up that late to watch his show, so I saw it online. Do I think his choice of language was unfortunate? For sure, and he's apologized and said, he doesn't apologize for the sentiment, he apologizes for the words that he used. Sure, he crossed the line. I didn't appreciate the phrasing that he used. I'm trying to be very careful here. But I think at the end of the day, it did air at 11:30 at night. They bleeped out the most offensive word. And he did apologize. At worst, I think he'll see a bit of
Well, regardless, let me ask you, somebody who, as you said, campaigned for Hillary Clinton, regardless of when this aired, I mean, Michelle Obama said famously, right, when they go low, we go high. Are progressives increasingly, are they proving the opposite of that? Are they going low, not high, when criticizing President Trump?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of going low or going high. It's going hard. So as Stephen Colbert said himself, he said, I have words, but President Trump has the launch codes. So we have to keep in mind, one, that and Stephen Colbert isn't a journalist, he's a comedian, but journalists in general have a very important job to do these days, and we saw that through the leaks, both in the American campaign and the French campaign. It's hard, and with newsrooms shrinking and journalists, the amount of journalists...
Okay, but sorry to interrupt, but comedians do have a voice here as well, and...
Satire is a very potent weapon.
Sure,
it is. It's something that's been used very, very effectively against many leaders, and I think that I thought his choice of words was very unfortunate, too. I think it actually diminished, I agree, that it diminishes you as a movement or as a person with opinion if you descend to the level of the person that you're attacking, and I think he did here.
Finally, Elvis Stojko injured this weekend performing at Stars on Ice. He smacked his head on the ice. Fortunately, it looks like he's going to be okay, but we keep talking about Sidney Crosby and concussions when it comes to hockey. Lisa, first to you, do you think that figure skaters might need to put a helmet on?
Well, speaking as a Gen Xer who I can't believe how my generation actually made it through childhood, because we were pretty much sent on the street at daybreak and told to come home when the street lights came on. I don't know if we required helmets in figure skating. It was an unfortunate accident, and I'm sure we all can agree that we wish him a speedy recovery. But I think mandating helmets for figure skating might be going.
Certainly would change the nature of the sport, and I got about 15 seconds.
It would. I think it would compromise the aesthetics. Hockey isn't about as much the looks; it's about the power and the shots. Figure skating, there's that aspect too.
All right, Tasha Curidan, Lisa Kinsella, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.